Hi, I'm Bill Friend. Welcome to our video on the installation of Easy Plank and Tile Styles Click Vinyl Flooring. What I really like about these two products is that you can click them together without the use of moldings between different areas. Let's say you want tile in your kitchen, plank in your living room, you can have the two together without any seam. Not only are these products beautiful, their installation is fast and easy, and they're tough as nails. You'll need a few basic tools: a hammer, a rubber mallet, Carpenter square, an X-ACTO knife with a sharp new blade, a pencil, tape measure, some shims, tapping block or a piece of hardwood, and the saw of your choice. Alright, so let's get started. Now I'm in the left corner of the room, which is where you always want to start your installation. The planks install from left to right. We're going to install a double row. So this is going to be my starting row, and it's going to be two separate rows of planks. Starting with a half plank. We use a half plank to start so that you're lining up 50-50 on the planks to maximize the overlap. That makes sure that your row is super straight. This is my guide plank. This plank won't be installed. It's going to slide along. I use it to make sure that these seams here line up exactly. Because to do that by hand is a little bit tricky. So drop that plank and see how it drop down nice and easily? That's what you want. Bring your next row, your next plank up to it. Drop it down. Make sure that it drops down without any resistance. Take your rubber mallet, a couple hits, run your hand over that seam, making sure that it's all locked in. Now on the second row of the starting row, get your planks flush at the end and drop that plank down. Again, you saw how that dropped down nice and smoothly. That tells us that this joint is fully closed. All right, so I'm going to slide my guide plank down to about midway. It doesn't have to be exact, and make sure that when you click it in, it's tight at both ends. Critically important, because if it's not aligned here, then this plank will not be aligned and it will not lock in securely on the ends. Take your next plank, bring it up exactly flush here. Again, usually 3 good hits, double check that it's locked down, and then on the second row of your starter row, we're going to slide in this plank here, bring it up just tight here. See how it's dropping down nice and easily. There we go, it's locked in very well. And again, slide your guide row down. Double check that it's properly locked in on both ends. It's so important and so easy to miss. I've got a gap here, there we go. And she's locked in nicely. Now, at this point, I'm going to have to make a cut for these last two pieces. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure that I'm at the other end with enough space for my shim off the wall. You need to always make sure you leave about a 1/4 inch gap at the end so that you don't have any tension between the floor and the wall. You may have a little bit of what we call thermal expansion with seasonal temperature changes. So my shim's in place, and I'm going to go to the end here. I'm going to make a measure. So I'm going to integrate the tiles into the floor. This is an actual bedroom, so we're going to pretend that this was a living room and this area here was a kitchen, and how we can join the tiles directly to the planks without any transitions. So a seamless installation. At the same time, I'm going to show you what we call the score and snap method of how we actually cut the tiles and the planks. So I'm going to do exactly half the tile, because generally in kitchens, you're going to have an exact 50-50, what we call a brick pattern. So these tiles are 12 inches long. So I'm going to measure at the halfway mark. To be precise, they're 23 5/8. So I'm going to go right here at 5/16 off, and that's my exact halfway point. And I always recommend cut minimum of twice, and generally a third one never hurts. You want to make sure you cut through the wire layer completely. That ensures that when you go to snap the tile, it breaks very cleanly, and of course, no dust or chips. And I'm going to integrate that right into my floor, and you'll see how these two products go together just beautifully. So again, no transition, seamless transition. The tiles installed in the exact same manner as the planks. There's really no difference other than the shape of the product. Use the exact same technique. Make sure your joints are tight, seams lined up. And the tiles may take a few more hits because they're bigger, that's normal. I like to install 2 rows at a time or 3 rows at a time sometimes. It just saves a bit of time. Not having to get up all the time and move around. All right, so look how nicely these two products go together. No moldings, smooth, seamless transition. Now again, this was a demonstration, pretending that this would be the living room and this would be a kitchen area. We're going to pick up these tiles and remove them. We're going to finish off this floor and get this project done. All right, so you're going to want to optimize the look of your floor and give it the most natural look possible. Since all the planks in this product are 4 feet long, what's important is to not have seams line up. You want to get your end joints to be staggered so that you don't end up with patterns in your floor. So what I'll do here, since this plank is going to align with this one here, and I have another seam here, I'm going to trim about roughly this much off, just over a foot. So I'll take it off the end here to bring this seam back. So again, score a couple times. We'll snap this off. All right, so now we have a good distance between all these seams. Now, one of the other things we want to talk to you about is making sure to avoid the issue of potentially having gaps in these long seams. One of the common errors in installation is you'll put a plank in, but you'll have a small gap here, maybe all the way along, or maybe a small gap at the other end. And what happens is if there's a small gap here, then when I put the next plank in here, it's going to create a gap here, and that gap will repeat through the floor. Ultimately, what can happen is if you have a gap in your floor, over the next months or years with the traffic, you'll end up breaking those click-locking profiles. You can end up with a broken seam in your floor. So because it's hard to see these gaps sometimes, what I recommend to you is along each row, take a tapping block or a piece of hardwood. I like using a piece of hardwood. And as you do each plank, you tap along the edge. Now, what that does is it drives the plank in to make sure that those gaps are completely sealed, completely tight, and that also ensures that this angle here is perfectly square. So when you tap it down, it goes down perfectly. So I'm going to do that this whole row just to kind of demo that for you. All right, so we're down to the finishing touches. This is where you'll want to take a little bit more time, make sure your measurements are very accurate. You don't want any gaps. So my last plank won't quite fit in here or here, so I need to remove a little bit here and a section along this plank as well. And that'll bring this plank right into and under the door, which is quite lucky and nice. You'll notice that this strip I need to remove here is wider here than it is here. That's normal. Very few rooms in a house are perfectly square, so don't make one measurement. Measure at the beginning and the end of your cut to make sure if there's a difference, you accommodate for that. And lastly, we're going to do the same around this closet. We're going to run the flooring right into the closet, but make sure you notch out here and you'll see the notch there. And in a moment, we'll finish off the closet as well. All right, so we're down to the last row in the closet. And as I mentioned before, it's very important to make sure you measure the distance along the last row because there's about a ½ inch of difference here. So my piece of board is actually getting a little bit more narrow as I get to the end. So I'm gonna put in my first piece. I hope the helpful hints that I've shared with you today make your project a great success. Thanks for watching.